The Euros kicks off this Friday and it's time to lock in our Euro fantasy drafts for match day one. I am this close to confirming my team and I can't wait to show you it because it's the best draft that I have built so far. So as always, make sure you drop a like on the video and of course smash the subscribe button for daily Euro content. Enough waffling, let's get into today's video. So first up, and probably the most important thing for when you're building your drafts is what is your current chip strategy? Now a reminder, we get a limitless chip, which is basically a free hit, and then a wildcard chip. And I have locked in what I want to do for my two chips, and that is going to be play the limitless chip in match day 3 and play the wildcard chip in match day 5. Now, a quick reminder, we get unlimited transfers going up until match day 1, like Fantasy Premier League. We then get 2 free transfers for match day 2, 2 free transfers for match day 3, and then we get unlimited transfers going into the knockout stages, so the round of 16, and then transfers beyond that point. So 3 for the quarterfinals, 4 for the semis, and 5 for the finals. So the way that I've structured it is that I'm focusing on match day 1 and 2. I then want to use my limitless chip for match day 3. And the reason being is this. I think a few of the popular teams will have qualified by match day 2. I think enough teams are established and the fixtures are good enough that they will win their first 2 games. Now, of course, we can't predict these things, but we need to make assumptions when we are doing our chip strategies. And for me, I think enough popular teams would have locked in their positions for the knockout stages by then. So effectively, there are going to be a few national teams that are going to be rotating, bringing in some of these differential players. And I think having the limitless chip means that if Spain, England, Portugal do qualify by match day 2, then it's a great opportunity to build a squad with this limitless chip to have some of these really nice lowly owned players. For example, England, we might get the opportunity to bring in someone like an Eze if Southgate comes in a press conference and says Eze is starting. The same applies to Portugal. We may get some really nice differentials in that team. So again, it is assumptive, but we kind of have to be in a game like this with Euro Fantasy. Now, that will mean that, of course, I'll have match day 1 and 2 for my team, limitless in 3, basically a wild card going into the round of 16 because we get given unlimited transfers. And then for the quarterfinals, which is match day 5, using my wildcard chip. Now, I think by this stage of quarterfinal, we probably will have one big team go out. Just historically, it does happen. And usually, if you've obviously got a lot of players from one nation, they get knocked out, you have to use a lot of transfers to then completely change your team. And I think that will probably incur a points hit. So I think holding off on your wildcard until match day 5 is a really wise move. Again, it allows for these shock results to happen and you basically rebuilding your team. Also, we have more information, so we're going to know which players are locked into the teams. And by that stage, that might be when we need to rebuild the team. And of course, it allows us to be in a strong position, having effectively back-to-back wildcards. That basic wildcard in the round of 16 and then your actual wildcard in the quarterfinal. So this is going to be my chip strategy. It's really important for you to establish it because I know previously I was going down the route of using a limitless chip in match day 2 and a wildcard in match day 3. And if you're doing that, then you only have to look at match day 1 for the squad that you're building, and that will completely change the pool of players that you are selecting from. But this is my chip strategy and why I'm selecting the certain squad that I do have for match day 1. So taking a look at the goalkeepers that I have gone for, and I'm pretty much locked in on this combination of Portugal's Costa and Netherlands' Verbruggen. Now, at 5 million, it really has been a debate between Costa versus Pickford. However, you'll see my team in a bit why I've opted for Costa. I do think there is a better English defensive option now in the game. So for me, I think having an investment in the Portuguese defence is a really good move. I think the fixtures for match day 1 and 2 are not too bad for Portugal. Defensively as well, during the qualifying stages, they have been fantastic. So I do think that having a piece of that defence is quite important. And I like Costa at this price. I would not be looking at goalkeepers above 5 million. Donnarumma, Neuer, all of these goalkeepers are not worth the money. I think Costa at 5 million is an absolute steal for your teams. And I've gone for Verbruggen as well at 4.5 million. Now, it's worth noting, if you were to change Costa for Pickford, for example, they both play Pickford and Verbruggen on the same day in match day 1, which is not ideal at all. So this is another reason why I've gone for the Costa-Verbruggen combination, because they play on different days. Do not be caught out by that goalkeeper combination of Pickford and Verbruggen. Now, at 4.5 million for Verbruggen, it isn't good for the fixtures. I'm only looking at matchday 1 and 2, and they've got Poland followed by France. Not ideal. However, I don't think there are many goalkeepers right now in the 4.5 million department that are better than Verbruggen. This is a goalkeeper that is confirmed to be the number one, playing in a very good team with a good manager and good defenders in front of him. Ake, Van der Ven, Van Dijk, Frimpong, Dumfries. Even though they have tricky fixtures, I do back them as a team going into the tournament. And even though they're not great fixtures, I think this combination is the best. I don't like the idea of going for 2 5 million goalkeepers now that we have Verbruggen confirmed as the 4.5 million goalkeeper. Okay, so moving into the defenders, and I need to kick things off with the inclusion of Marc Guéhi at 4.5 million. Now, of course, I am making an assumption that Marc Guéhi will start for England. And personally, out of the choices that is available to Southgate to play alongside John Stones, the likes of Dunk, Guéhi, Konsa, Gomez, I think Guéhi is going to be first pick. Absolutely. I have no questions about it. And at 4.5 million, because of the situation where Pickford and Verbruggen don't rotate well together, I think it's a no-brainer for me to have Costa, Verbruggen, and then Guéhi as my England defensive coverage. I could be wrong on this pick, and again, we might get some confirmation from Southgate in the interviews in the lead-up to matchday 1, but I'm pretty certain he will start. And at 4.5 million, very, very difficult to ignore. Now, look at the rest of my defenders. Wout-Face has been in every single draft, and to be honest with you, if we do have confirmation that him and Mittelstadt, as you can see there, play, I just think it's impossible to ignore the combination of having 2 4 million defenders. Look, similar to Fantasy Premier League, defenders historically are just not the most exciting picks. And if you can have the luxury of 2 4 million defenders to invest the money elsewhere in this squad, I think you do so. End of the day, the attackers, the midfielders is really where the excitement is in this game. And I don't really want to be wasting a defender spot paying premium once again when I can have these options available. Now, Wout-Face's fixtures for Belgium are actually okay for matchday 1 and 2, so I don't mind having him in my team. And Mittelstadt as well with that first game against Scotland. As long as we get confirmation that he's starting, he played the 2 friendlies, pretty certain he's the pick. Do not be going for Rudiger at 5.5 million. It is not worth the extra money. Now, the final 2 players in this team is DeMarco at 5 million. He has been in every single draft of mine, mainly for that first fixture against Albania. I think it's impossible to ignore that. Are Italy the team that they once were? No. But that fixture is too good. Yes, matchday 2 is difficult for them, but I just think matchday 1 is too good to ignore. The ownership in the Italian defence is going to be very, very big. DeMarco is in. Do not be paying the extra for someone like a Di Lorenzo. I just do not think it's worth it at 0.5 million more. Now, the final pick in this defence, and he has been in every single draft, but I am starting to have a little bit of doubts, is going to be Theo Hernandez. 5.5 million, currently 27% owned in the game. For me, when I was doing my draft, I thought I want a piece of the France defence because France are one of the favourites in the competition. Theo Hernandez offers attacking potential. However, I do look at the fixtures with Austria, who I really do rate going into this competition. They have been one of the form teams. Good manager right now, Ralf Rangnick as well. So I think they know exactly what kind of team they are. And I think that's going to be a really tricky opening game for France. And then they have the Netherlands in game 2. Not ideal at all. So I am looking at this thinking to myself, is it really worthwhile me having an investment in that French defence? Because the real game you want them for is in matchday 3 against Poland. And I'll be using my limitless chip then when hopefully I could pick up a differential in that France defence. But Theo Hernandez is in, but this one is really up for debate. I could potentially bring in someone like a Frimpong in that Netherlands defence, but I would say that the Netherlands fixtures are equally difficult, so I don't feel as compelled to go for that. So right now, I'm leaving it on Theo Hernandez. The big absence in this defence is going to be the 6 million defender. No Van Dijk and no Cancelo. I have had Cancelo for a while. However, what I am going to show you later in this video is what I could do with Cancelo and what I can do with my forwards, because that will basically dictate who I have as my third forward. And this is the real deliberation I have with this team. So we will come on to that later on in the video. Okay, we're getting into the spicy picks now, the midfielders. So Bruno Fernandes, first and foremost, I just need to touch on him because I'm very, very strong in this opinion. He's in. absolutely in this team. The fixtures are good for Portugal. Portugal are a really, really free scoring team. I want a piece of that pie. And his involvement in the national team for the last 20 games has been ridiculous. He is the heartbeat of everything good in that Portuguese team. I'm not going without Bruno Fernandes. So he is my 9 million pick. Unfortunately, though, because of the forwards available in this game, if you go for a 9 million midfielder like I have, then going for another 8.5 or 9 million midfielder alongside him is very, very difficult. So I've made my bed. I'm going to sleep in it with Bruno Fernandes, and I'm happy to have him as my premium. And as you can see at the rest of my midfield, that is at the sacrifice of no De Bruyne, no Bellingham, no Saka. But right now, I'm very comfortable with that. Now, another player that has been in a lot of my teams is going to be Szoboszlai. He has been fantastic in qualifying, and we spoke about him before. With the fixtures coming up, they're not ideal. Let's be real. Switzerland in the first game, Germany in the second. He has been in every single draft, but when I look at the fixtures, I do ask myself, are there better players who have better fixtures? And I think the answer is yes. However, there is a big difference between targeted fixtures and having the talisman. And even though the fixtures are tough, if Hungary are going to do anything in this tournament, he is going to be the man to do so. So I'm really happy with him right now. But similar to Theo Hernandez, I'm not doubting him as a player. I'm just doubting the fixtures that they have in front of them. So I need to and ah about that one. But I do think he's a brilliant pick at 7 million. But there are some tasty players out there in that bracket that I've touched on in a previous video that you definitely need to check out. Now, another player that has come in is going to be Florian Wirtz. I don't know whether he will take his Bayern Leverkusen form into this Germany team. But what I do know is this. I don't want to pay an additional 1 million for Musiala, even though he might be a better Germany pick. So I think Wirtz is just in by default for me. I don't think Gundogan is the free scoring Gundogan that we saw in this Man City team. A lot of people that I spoke to kind of say don't have that image of him in this Germany team. So it all comes down to Wirtz, to be honest with you, at 7.5 million by default. Now, the other two picks are 6.5 million. Rodri has been in a lot of drafts, but I've currently got him out. And it's just because I want to go for more offensive players. Rodri is great for ball recoveries and the potential penalty and maybe a goal from outside the box. But when we have someone like Shaqiri, now I know he's been awful in the MLS, but currently 2% owned, 6.5 million, and the fixtures are actually decent. Hungary in the first game, Scotland in matchday 2. He has Germany in matchday 3 when I'm playing my limitless chip, so I don't have to worry about that fixture. And Shaqiri, think of him what you will, he steps up in the games for Switzerland and it might be his last competition. So I really like him right now. Scored in a recent friendly, on penalties, guaranteed game time unless his legs give way. I'm a fan of Shaqiri right now over Rodri. Now, the last pick, the man that I have been butchering in every single video is going to be Çalhanoğlu. I think I've got that one there. Now, again, with Turkey, I don't love the fixtures for Turkey coming up, but the match day 1 fixture is the plum fixture against Georgia. Yes, they have Portugal in match day 2, but again, if we get to match day 2, no injuries have arisen, we have 2 free transfers, so maybe he could be one that could leave my team if we need to. Remember, we can make transfers. So Çalhanoğlu's in. Great goal scoring season for Inter Milan. The heartbeat of this Turkey team. Arda Güler, who is 0.5 million more, is the more exciting pick in this Turkey team. But I would say he's a bit more of a riskier pick and he's a bit more expensive. And I can't really squeeze him into this team right now. So I'm happy with this midfield. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I think there's a couple of players that could come in, especially at that 7 million price bracket. But at the time of recording, I'm pretty locked in with this midfield. And finally, the forwards. Now, I'm just going to quickly touch on it. Kane and Mbappe just are going to be in my team regardless. I have tried to be brave and build teams without them in. I've tried a Griezmann alternative. I've tried putting in some nice differentials. Look, I think these two are going to be vying for the Golden Boot. I think both are just fantastic options. Yes, the fixtures for France are a little bit difficult, but I just can never argue against Mbappe. And Kane is just Harry Kane. We know that England's talisman is going to step up in the international stage. Hopefully, I know I'm being a bit biased there. So Kane and Mbappe are just in. Obviously, it's a lot of money to allocate into the forward departments, and yes, you could go somewhere else, but personally, I'm not going to go there. So it's all about the third forward position. Now, in previous videos, I have had Kai Havertz locked in, and I still believe from a value perspective at 7.5 million, he is the play to go for. Scotland in matchday 1, the host nation, guaranteed game time, does well for Germany. It's a great pick in the forward line. However, there's a certain Romelu Lukaku that keeps calling out my name. 14 goals in the qualifying stages, 2 in a previous friendly only a couple of days ago, and the fixtures. Slovakia in matchday 1. I don't think that's a pushover, but I still think it's a good fixture for Belgium. And then Romania in matchday 2. Now, forget what you want about Lukaku in the previous tournament. I know he had a disaster class. I still rate Romelu Lukaku, and I do feel like he is going to be a play in this game where you kind of have your own personal opinions of him. I know a lot of people who think he's a donkey and just will not pick him, even though the stats are fantastic. I'm putting that aside, and I'm just solely looking at him as a player for Belgium, and I think he's a brilliant option at 9 million. So right now, I'm leaning towards him, and I'm going to show you in a minute an alternative draft of where I replace Lukaku, just to give you an idea of what I'm sacrificing having Lukaku in my team. But right now, I just love that front three. And let me show you what the team will look like for matchday 1 once I've confirmed it. So with that draft, this is how the team would look going into matchday 1. Okay, so again, the important thing about Euro Fantasy is that you need to look at the dates that the players are playing. Bench the players that are playing later on in matchday 1. So for example, Portugal, Turkey and Belgium are all playing in the final 2 days of matchday 1. So you want to play the players who are playing earlier. The reason being is if someone in the starting 11 doesn't perform, I can substitute any of these players on the bench for that player. Just a reminder, once you've made that substitute, you cannot reverse it. Otherwise, the game will just be completely broken. So as you can see here, this is how the team will look, and I'm really happy with it, to be honest with you. As I said, we're going for the big guns and Lukaku, Kane and Mbappe up top. The captaincy would be on Wirtz because he's the first game of the tournament, and then if he doesn't do well, I will move him on to Szoboszlai on the 15th of June, Kane on the 16th, Mbappe on the 17th, and then if all else fails, Bruno Fernandes on the final day on the 18th of June. So really do like this team. I think it looks really well balanced with some good investments in the midfield, and we've got the powerhouses up top. But as I stated, I want to quickly show you an alternative draft where most of these positions are locked in, but Lukaku is the big one which changes the dynamics of the team. So let me show you exactly what I mean. So this is what I'm going to call version 2 of the draft that I've been building. And there's only been 2 changes for this team. I've brought in Kai Havertz in replace for Romelu Lukaku, and that has freed up 1.5 million in my team. Now, a couple of things. I can easily upgrade one of my midfielders. So, for example, Szoboszlai could be upgraded to a Bukayo Saka, which is very, very tempting. And it is something that I need to debate with myself in this team. But what I've done right now is I've upgraded someone like a Mark Guehi for Cancelo. It's got me another investment in that Portuguese defence, who I really do rate this season, and also the attacking potential that he does provide. And that's the big thing right now. Lukaku basically locks me in on a Mark Guehi defender, which I really do rate, and I think that is the direction that I want to go in. But what I like about going down to Kai Havertz, he frees up that 1.5 million, gives you a captaincy option outside of Wirtz for the game, and, as I stated, you can either improve the defender, like going for Cancelo, but at the time recording right now, what I do like the idea of is maybe upgrading one of those midfielders to maybe a Bukayo Saka, as I stated, and getting that strength and depth in the team. So still a little bit to debate, but as you can see, the structure, the base of the team is there. It's just those last final decisions. It'd be really interesting to know in the comment section which team you would go for and any major changes in general that you would have. Yes, guys, okay, that is going to wrap up today's video. We're getting very, very close to that final draft, and I will be revealing that on Thursday. So as always, if you did enjoy the video, please do consider dropping a like. And if you want daily fantasy content, please do smash that subscribe button. I will be here for the next month. Any questions, please do put them in the comments section. I will see you in tomorrow's video where I'll be rating your drafts. You can send them over to me at fplnacho or fplfan on Twitter. Have an amazing day. Take care, and I'll see you very soon. Cheers.